Good morning to all. I, Professor M.S. Balasubramanian, am the host of the Virtual 8 International Conference on Humanizing Work and Work Environment, in short, as WWE 2020, with the theme Technology in Ergonomic Design. I extend to you all warmest to welcome. We are now together witnessing the opening ceremony, recitation of Holy Quran, presented by Professor Syed Amjad Ali. I request Sir to recite that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير Translation. In the name of Allah, the gracious, merciful, praise of the world, the most gracious, the most merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. It is you we worship. We call for help. Thus, straight path. The path for not of against whom there is anger, nor of those who are wicked. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. It is time now to honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased and honored to welcome you to Virtual 2020 International Conference. It is high time that such event taking place to highlight the remarkable contribution in so many areas of our lives. On this occasion, I welcome our honorable guest, Mr. Sarifdeen, the patron of conference. Welcome, sir. A hearty welcome to Dr. N.K. Rana, the conference chair. Welcome, sir. A warm welcome to Dr. Shah Akil Ahmed, the conference co-chair. Welcome, sir. All the keynote addressers, authors, and global audience. Now, I invite Dr. N.K. Rana, the conference chair, to present a report on HWWE 2020 and an introduction of the conference. Please, sir.
Very good morning to all the dignitaries, participants, experts, organizing committee members, and others. It is my privilege and honor to welcome all of you to 18th International Conference at WWE, Humanizing Work and Work Environment. I am honored to feel that as WWE, when it was started in 2001, by single-handed efforts of Professor G.G. Ray, IDC, IIT Mumbai, has come so far that today, globally, it is recognized. So So the efforts of ISC, IEA are really praiseworthy. I'm seriously thankful to ISC, those who have taken the initiative to award this conference for 2021 to conduct this program in physical mode and enjoy the togetherness of all of you sitting with us. Unfortunate, the pandemic started and finally we had to go in virtual mode. And today, the conference is witnessed all over the globe in a virtual mode. All the speakers are getting virtually and will deliver their talk virtually. Session as plenary session chair. I'm thankful she has given us the time to be with us. Professor Jose Orlando Gomes, Vice President and Treasurer, IEA, and all other members of IEA, those who are supporting us. We are thankful to ISC, Professor Ganguly, President, for wholehearted support and who is also present in the inaugural function to deliver plenary talk. We are also thankful to other members, Professor Chakravarti, Professor Dhara, Professor Pradhan, and all other members of ISC for their kind support and encouragement. I'm thankful to our core team, which has tonight to ensure that conference is smoothly transformed from physical mode to virtual mode. Thankful to Professor Jiji, Professor Ipwal, Professor Swati Pal, Professor Vivek Hanjole, and my own team members, Professor Najmuddin, Professor Wasim Khan, and all other people for their support and hard work. I am also thankful to our patrons, Shri Anwar Hussain Theme Sir, Dr. Shokat, and Shri for their support and guidance throughout the program, their planning and execution. Thank you all. Thank you so very much. The SWWE, when it started month of November 2019, when the previous SWWE was held at NIT Jalandhar, and the baton was passed to us to form and execute the SWWE 2020 at Chief College of Engineering. Sir, I'm pleased to share few information with you. That all in virtual mode also we received 26 papers, wherein we have accepted 63 papers. We have 10 lead lectures attending different sessions and delivering their lead talks during the 3 extravaganza. I am pleased to welcome 8 speakers globally, those who are going to share with us during the days of this conference. We have delivered this presentation, Professor Kathy from President IA and by Professor Ganguly, President ISC. So thank you. Enjoy this 3-day conference and be with us and be the part of the SWW 2020. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. In this preliminary session, we have 2 preliminary speakers among us. The first speaker is Dr. Kathleen Moser, President International Ergonomics Association, who will do her preliminary talk on technological challenges for human factors, ergonomics in the future of work. And the second speaker is Dr. A.K. Ganguly, President ISC, who will address an changing concept of work and the future of ergonomics in India. So let us start the preliminary session and gain an experience with the delegates. It's my privilege to introduce you Dr. Kathleen by reading her short profile. Dr. Kathleen Moser, the president of the International Ergonomics Association, is an emeritus professor of psychology at San Francisco State University and the the principal scientist of Teamscape LLC, a company for aerospace research. She received her PhD in industrial organizational psychology from University of California, Berkeley. She spent 7 years at NASA Ames Research Center, and then she was a professor of industrial organizational psychology at SSU for 20 years. Moser has been conducting research on expert teams, automation, coordination, decision making for over 30 years. She, with a colleague, invented the term as crew misused automated system. Run research examines the impact of communication time delay in space operations, and the psychosocial aspect of crew autonomy in long duration space missions. Now, I request Professor Gigi Ray, an emeritus professor of industrial design at IIT Bombay, to deliver a welcome note on Dr. Kathleen Moser and request her to continue her plenary session to Dr. J.J. Ray.
Good morning to all.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I can even old friends in front of me. Yeah, so I think that also to be here in this forum, especially this pandemic situation. I just wanted to all of you because we started and it has come here 2020 and it is going further ahead. And what I expect both
Standards, a member of the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society, USA, and the president of the Indian Society of Ergonomics and the Asian Council of Ergonomics and Design, ACED. Now I request Dr. A.K. Ganguly to deliver his plenary session talk on changing concepts of work, future of ergonomics in India. Over to Sir.
Thank you. On behalf of the Indian Society of Ergonomics, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this year's HWWE conference. The HWWE, or Humanizing Work and Work Environment series of conferences, has a very long history behind it. As Professor Hwwe and Dr. Rana have said, the very first HWWE was held nearly 20 years ago in 2001 in Mumbai IIT. And since then, HWWE has traveled all across the length and breadth of our vast country. The HWWE conferences are now considered to be a cross-sectional snapshot of Indian ergonomics. Anyone who analyzes the variety of facts over the years and the growth of the number of papers of the different facts will get a reasonably accurate picture of the nature of ergonomics in India. This year's HWWE is very special, being the very first virtual HWWE. And as we all know, while we will miss the networking, the creation and renewal of personal contact can take place only in a physical meeting, there are lots of pages virtual too. Travel and there is zero time, there is no time away from home, and we have the ability to move from one to a session and most importantly, no heads will turn early. So let us enjoy the very first HWWE in the new normal. Now, in the new normal, as we said, change is the only certainty. The nature of work is going to change is also a certainty. It is reflected in the similarity of the topics which both the IEA president and I, however, will try to focus on the changes in our country, but in these days of globalization, there is bound to be some overlap. So let us take a quick look at about ergonomics in India. Let's see if most successful within time. Are you able to see the presentation? The first moment the COVID-19 working from virtual ergonomics assessments. Now, almost all of us have attended more than one webinar on work from home. I just wanted to share with you the working from home was currently organized the Indian Society of Ergonomics Institute of Factors UK. Because we wanted to see what were the to conditions and see how to identify what the best is. The most finding it came out of the conference was that apart from infrastructural issues, mobility and power, apart from these two infrastructural issues, most of the problems related to working from home are similar globally. So basically, we could see that about 60% of the problem, or even 70%, is that collaboration and communication and loneliness are coming up. Progress. Will be concentrating more on this. I'm moving away to the facts.
Because your screen is not sharing properly, because the changing of the slides is not found, so you please just make screen and just change the slides. Assume that you have already changed your slides in your laptop, but it is not shown in our screen. So please make it full screen. Just change your slide.
Yeah, it's in full screen now. Are you able to see the next slide now?
No.
I'll stop presenting and start again.
You please go to the desktop, and from the desktop, you please share the PowerPoint. And it will be shown on our screen.
What I see now?
Yes. Now it is okay. Excellent.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. So basically, I'll just repeat this quickly. So the first basic reason for changing of work will be the emergence of the hybrid working economy. Reason being that working from home is here to stay, and that the workplace plays a critical role in supporting culture, connection, and collaboration, as the other study from 2020 has shown. And that not only working from home will change the nature of work, it will change the functionality of the offices, the workplace, as well as the way we work. And in our own professional practice, one of the major changes which we expect are to be successful. I said I was talking about this joint webinar we had between the Indian Society of Ergonomics and the Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors. We wanted to identify what were the factors which were there in common, and one of the important things which came out from this webinar was in this particular study of was that most of the problems to collaboration communication not be able to apply distractions at home about 20% of the total number of problems. So, as far as concerned, in India, other factors are the showed the concern of the employer for the employees. This was around 50 years back. So at that time, whatever the employer was doing in terms of safety and health, part of that. Yes, this changed in a dramatic way in 1987. The first amendment to the Factories Act, which came out as a consequence of the unfortunate events of Bhopal in 1984. The section big changes, and it made the requirements for the safety from in 1999. changes at the design change. That is what we need to be concentrating on. And we must engage the workforce in the process. We must be the changes which we do must be participative in nature. So participative ergonomics is again part of organizational ergonomics. So both with the ability to quantify the results, show return on ergonomics, involve people in participative ergonomics, and it has to be integrated with other company initiatives. Most importantly, lean management, as will be there in the next, I think, the third keynote address. Then we need to see how we can integrate it with Six Sigma. We should be able to show that you can't have Six Sigma unless you have ergonomics. And with the whatever are the objectives of total quality management, business excellence. These are the initiatives of the company: business excellence, total quality management, Six Sigma, lean, all these things which we must be able to integrate ergonomics with these company initiatives in order to success. And these are the way in which we can create business value. And there must be visible demonstration of value to the business. And until that is there, we will not be able to do it. So this is what we must be able to concentrate on. And this is the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, has joined with us. Now, I request ma'am to proceed her session. Ma'am, you are welcome back.
You are muted, Dr. Mosier.
Please unmute yourself. Please unmute.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Let me,
it's fine.
oh, I'm thinking I should do it now. Okay. You see it?
You are able, you can.
PowerPoint slide?
Yeah, it is visible.
Great.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a matter of an extension in this technological way. So I apologize. And I thank you to Dr. Gandu because he made many of my points already. So that will enable me to go a little bit faster and make up some of the time that we lost.
I request others mute
Yes.
your mic.
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be talking, am I still? Yeah, okay. I will be talking about technological challenges for human factors and ergonomics in the future of work. And before I do that, I just want to take a minute to congratulate all of you, Dr. Rana and all of the organizing committee for organizing a virtual conference and taking into account time differences and making this work. And I would like to issue a welcome to all of you on behalf of the International Ergonomics Association. Before I start talking about, I want to give you a little bit of information, probably things that you know, but the International Ergonomics Association is a federation of 54 human factors and ergonomic societies around the world. IEA works to advance and promote high-quality human factors and ergonomics globally. Our mission, to elaborate and advance human factors and ergonomics and to expand its scope of application and contribution. And our goals are to collaborate closely with member societies, including, of course, the societies in India, advance the science and practice of human factors and ergonomics globally, and enhance the contribution of human factors and ergonomics to a global society. So if you are a member of ISE, you are part of this federation and a member of the International Ergonomics Association. Since 2015, we've been addressing our mission and our goals with a policy-driven approach, which includes 7 policies. Engage stakeholders, that's internal stakeholders, our members, as well as external stakeholders like standards organizations, managers, designers, like-minded organizations, and regulators as well. We collaborate with and reinforce our networks. We contribute to science, technology, and practice as a priority. We identify our role in promoting education, certification, and professional standards. We have endorsement of certification programs. We are just developing a map of human factors and ergonomics programs across the globe, and I hope that India is contributing to that map. We are strengthening our relationships with external partners, including the WHO, the World Health Organization, the International Labor Organization, the International Standards Organization, and patient safety organizations. We're trying to expand our external reach. And we're reinforcing the structure, the infrastructure of IEA, continually trying to make it stronger and more continuous, passing down information. And our is to make a future focus for human factors and ergonomics. And the future of work is a very big part of this. We have a future of work task force. We just published our website, a draft of principles for human factors and ergonomics design and management of work systems. And we encourage you to go and download that from the website and give us feedback and comments if you have them. And we're in the process of creating guidelines with WHO and the Clinical Risk Center in Florence concerning applying human factors and ergonomics to healthcare for patient safety. So we have a lot going on. And I just wanted to say about Policy 2, collaborate with and reinforce IEA networks. We're seeing a lot of regional banding together and intercontinental. We have a new network that's called BRICS Plus, and India is a part of that. India is also part of the Asian network called ACED, Asian Council on Ergonomic Design, and many congratulations to Dr. Ninja Gaduli, who is the new president of ACED. Congratulations to you. And I just want to reinforce that the notion of partnering with other organizations gives you more strength, gives you a better voice, and it makes us easier to develop collaborations with regions and with philosophical joined entities. Okay, so let's move on to the future of work. And as I said, Dr. Ganduly has made some of these points, so this will be a complementary presentation. The reality of the future of work is very complex. We still have the situations on the right that are very manual labor oriented and very non-technology oriented. And at the same time, we have technologies any of the world has seen before. We can do things that our parents didn't dream of being able to do during a lifetime. We are in the middle of Industry 4.0. We're in a network kind of a field. We're in the Internet of Things. We're in cyber world, and the train is going. The Industry 4.0 train is going, and we need to be on it for human factors and ergonomics to ensure that we have a voice in how it goes. So the future of human factors and ergonomics and the future of work are very tightly linked. Human factors and ergonomics must be on the leading edge of technology development in Industry 4.0 and beyond. Disruptive drivers are shaping the future of work, and we must be proactive to make sure that human factors and ergonomics can make an impact on design and outcomes for these disruptive drivers. And what are they? Well, some of them are what has been called game-changing technologies, and some of these were mentioned. For example, we have autonomous robots in vehicles, automation that can perform with very little human input. We have simulation that used to be a vehicle for training of pilots and now is a vehicle for use anywhere. You can use a computer to simulate any situation and then repeat it over and over and over to see what happens if different things change. We have systems integration. We have systems that are talking to each other and integrating information. We have the Internet of Things, especially industrial Internet of Things, and wearable devices. If you have a Apple Watch or any kind of a watch like that, or something that you wear that tracks your movements, you know about these. We have artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can predict what you're going to do before you ever think about doing it, based on analyzing everything that you've done in the past and what it knows. Cybersecurity and cloud computing. We've got enormous data storage capacities in the cloud, and we need ways to protect it. So we have cybersecurity means to protect everything that we store there. We have additive manufacturing, 3D printing, especially in industry, and you'll see more and more industries using 3D manufacturing to. It's a shortcut for building things, for constructing products. We have augmented and virtual reality, which can be used to take us to a different world or to enhance the world that we're in. And we have big data and analytics that can transform enormous amounts of data, transform and interpret into predictions and information that we can use. So these are what your fund has called game-changing technologies. We also have another disruptive driver that Dr. Ganguly alluded to, which is COVID-19, which is changing things for us as we have conferences, remote conferences. COVID-19 will dictate and accelerate the current priorities that are likely to influence work in the long term. We have a reliance on remote work, remote workers. We have online education and meeting platforms. Those of you who are academics know that you've had to revamp your entire style of teaching to go along with remote work and meetings. We have changes to production and services. We have human and automation teaming. So the teams that used to be 2 people are now a human and an automated device or a robot. Human factors in ergonomics is an essential part of addressing these trends and challenges that are introduced by the combined disruptors. The changes require re-evaluation and redesign of work systems. And to do this, we need to use a human factors in ergonomics systems approach. The systems approach, on the one hand, has multiple integrated factors. We look at the person or the issue embedded in a socio-technical context. The process is iterative. It goes back to see what is missed and to redo things that need to be refined and continually developed. It's interaction focused, looks at the interaction between people and their environment, their workplaces, and it's integrative. Yuichi Fujita, the past president of IEA, has referred to human factors in ergonomics as a bundling science, because it takes from other disciplines and other principles, combines and integrates them to make a product, a human factors product. For example, we did this when we were looking to develop resilient healthcare systems for patient safety. So you have to look at all the factors: patient factors, provider or caregiver factors, artifacts, how things are designed, what machines are there, the physical environment, the noise, the lighting, the procedures, the organizational structure and culture, as well as the national and international regulations, policies, and resources. And Dr. Ganguly alluded to all of these when he was talking about factors that we have to look at when creating work, and they all must be taken into account. So the systems approach also includes multiple interrelated aspects. And you may have seen this diagram before, maybe on our website if you've looked there. It's critical to address these interrelated aspects of human factors and ergonomics: the physical aspects, the cognitive aspects, psychosocial aspects, and organizational aspects. If you want to resolve issues and create design that will be ergonomically good and will correspond with the human-centered workplace. So let's get one example. One example is that people no longer go to work, and we heard about this earlier. They can work from anywhere. What are the issues of working from anywhere for workers and for organizations? So remote work has specific but overlapping challenges for each of these aspects of work. And addressing these challenges requires technology-enabled work design, the theme of your conference, and a very important part. So if you look at the organizational aspects of work from anywhere, what are the issues? One is you have the separation of the worker from the work. No longer is the worker in the place where the work is being done or produced, or it was being done or produced before. You've got platform work, gig work, which is becoming a big thing, crowd work. It's difficult when you have a remote worker to ensure employee engagement. And you can guarantee there's going to be some spillover, especially if people are working at home, from family to work and from work to family, especially if there are children at home and there's childcare involved. And there's also issues of the sustainability of the organization over time. Dr. Ganjuli spoke about that. So what are our research and design requirements? We need to know how to develop human-centered work systems for anywhere that people will work. We need to talk about what will be the protections for the remote workers. We need to talk about work-family policies. We need to do research and design for these things. And we need to work on developing a culture of continuous learning and refinement so that organizations monitor what's going on and continually refine it so that it's more adaptable to the remote worker and the type of work being done. We also have the physical aspects of work from anywhere. So you can work from your home, from a cafe, from an autonomous vehicle, and I bet that as soon as autonomous vehicles on the road, people will be working inside them with their laptops, as well as from an office. You have the physical interface with technology and devices. You have the physical setup of the workplace, and I know that you have sessions on that in this conference, and it's also been alluded to. You have issues of physical load or overload because of some work at home. The human factors and ergonomics research and design requirements include guidance for setting up workstations and for using technology and devices. We've started looking at this in the IEA. We published a think piece for the International Labor Organization, which had some guidance for setting up workstations. The Japanese Ergonomics Society published a booklet of 7 tips for the use of technology and devices, which is also available for downloading on our website. It's been translated into several languages. How do we ensure proper loading so that people that are working don't end up taking on a load that looks like this guy down in the lower right corner? How to develop collaborative robots and automation so that the functionality and robots and automation do the heavy work while the human is able to control and do other appropriate work. And what are the regulatory requirements that are needed for the physical aspects of working from anywhere? Cognitive aspects of working anywhere. There's certainly a danger of cognitive load or overload when you've got an overload of devices and probably and they are not organized vertically and you have the cognitive technology which may not be appropriate in terms of ergonomics and human. So our research and design requirements must include the design of the best cognitive interfaces go to bed. And sometimes you need it in the middle of the night when you wake up. Doom fatigue, tired of meetings, looking at people boxes, or whatever conference software that you use. And develop the fatigue on that, and you can see yourself when you turn off your video that you of these conference and meeting software. So what do we need in research and design? We need design meeting software that will help people deal with meetings, help them. We may be able to use virtual reality or simulations in place of some of the meetings that we now look at on a computer screen. How do we mitigate isolation and loneliness? There's going to be some technological need to detect when people are kind of withdrawing and maybe introduce some interventions. And how do you create a sense of a team when your team members are scattered all over the place? And I have to put in a plug for the research that we're doing for NASA, because we are dealing with probably the most remote team possibilities. Team members that are traveling off in space, one day to Mars, and team members that are on Earth. And how do you design the system, the work system, to ensure that those team members stay as a team and stay resilient and stay coordinated with each other and can work effectively? So that's kind of a very basic approach and presentation. And I think that although we need the new technology for these designs, for ergonomic designs, we also need to go back to these basics for our approach, because the approach that we use is going to be critical to really resolving challenges of the future world of work. And I just wanted to let you know that the IEA has developed, Yushi Fujita and Andrew Thatcher together have been working a lot on this, what we call a participatory project design toolkit, which we have used successfully in several different societies, federated societies, and different organizations to help groups, societies identify a project, a value-added project that they want to do with their society, with design or whatever. And it's a way of eliciting participation, a way of developing shared objectives and goals, generating ideas, sharing ideas and understandings to create balanced projects that have a human factors and ergonomics influence. And this is an iterative process, because you can imagine it doesn't go from step 1 to 8 and there's your project. You can imagine that it goes back when you have to go back and reiterate some of the steps and get around this. But I encourage you, if you are interested in using this toolkit, it is definitely something that can be used for many projects, and it's been used successfully for several already. And with this, I would like to thank you for inviting me to present. Thank you for your patience with the technology glitches, and thank you for your attention. And I hope to see you in Vancouver. If you can see, I have my Canadian pin on, so I am all ready to go to Canada in June, and I hope to see many of you there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And we thank both Dr. A.K. Ganguly and Dr. presenting their plenary session, talk really enlightened to us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, at the time of welcoming our the conference patron, Mr. Sharif Team has visited now, so I give a special welcome to sir to joining us and making this program wonderful. It's time now for giving vote of thanks. So I request our principal, Dr. So Akhil, the co-convener of the conference, to present vote of thanks. Sir. Good morning to all of you. I, Dr. Shakil Ahmed, convener at WWE 2020 International Conference, express my gratitude to all the plenary and keynote speakers, authors, participants, and audience for making this inaugural ceremony of conference a grand success. A special thank to Dr. Kathleen Moser, President IEA, for delivering her plenary talk on technological challenges for human factors ergonomics in the future of work. She really justified and enlightened the topic. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. I also extend my special thanks to Dr. A.K. Ganguly, President ISE, who delivered his speech on changing concept of work and future of ergonomics. It was wonderful and informative speech. Thank you, sir. I sincerely thank our chairman, Mr. Anwar Hussain Team, for his continuous support and motivation. I extend my warm thanks to our trustee, Mr. Mohammad Sharif Team, for mentoring and personally monitoring conference development. I thank Dr. N.K. Rana, Chief Convener of this conference, for his unique leadership in organizing this conference. I express my gratitude to all local, national, international organizing committee members. Once again, I thank all of you and declare open WWE 2020 International Conference and continue with keynote addresses and sessions in parallel tracks. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Keynote addresses by speakers will continue after the tea break at 11 p.m. Thank you. So I declare this session gets over. Thank you very much. 11:30.
We have 10 minutes break for the keynote, and 11:30 sharp will start, rejoin again. And we have 3 keynote sessions at 11:30 to 1. And I request keynote session experts to join within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning to all. It's my privilege and honor to welcome back all of you in session 2 of Humanizing Work and Work Environment 2020 International Conference. In this session, we have 3 keynote speakers, and they are going to address us the following keynotes. Sustainable Design Issues by Dr. Dev Kumar Sakrabarty. 2. Building a Better World Through Human Factors and Ergonomics, Dr. Andrew Thatcher. The last one, Using Lean Thinking and Industry 4.0 Technologies to Humanizing Work and Work Environment, by Dr. Annabella Hwwe. Now let us start with the keynote address 1. I invite the keynote speaker, Dr. Dev Kumar Chakrabarty, to address the topic Sustainable Design Issues. Before that, I present you his short profile. Dr. Dev Kumar Chakrabarty is a professor, former HOD, Department of Design, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, since December 1998, and looking after design ergonomics activities. He is also Director, Officiating, Central Institute of Technology, Kokrajhar, Assam, since 2015. He has completed his MSc and PhD in Science Physiology in the area of design ergonomics from Kolkata University.
Hello, good morning to all.
So there is few points. Sorry for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Effective communication, advertisement perception, occupational well-being, and utility appliances, and in the areas of concept microtourism. Dr. Dev Kumar worked as a faculty member at the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, India, from 1986 to December 1998, and held different positions such as Associate Senior Ergonomics with the responsibility of Coordinator Ergonomics and Vice Chairman Design Service and Research. His area of specialization in research and interest is as follows: ergonomics and human factors fundamentals, usability and human compatibility factors, design ergonomics and human product, cognitive perception and interaction ergonomics, occupational health and safety, and participatory ergonomics and training. He is Vice President of ISE. Now I request Dr. Dev Kumar Chakrabarty to address his keynote on sustainable design issues. Over to sir.
Good morning to all the members present. I'm feeling very happy that I have been invited to share some of my thoughts. In first inaugural session, the IEA President Dr. K. Moeser has given an address on overall ergonomics issues in global perspective, and Dr. A.K. Ganguly, the IEA President, gave an overall preview of ergonomics in changing scenario of today's context, safety and health, specifically industrial occupational well-being background. And he mentioned that now ergonomics being advanced now to the engineers and designers needs. So in this context, I would like to take further with the sustainable design issues. Now, we can see that towards sustainable development goal, ergonomics has a lot to do. Like in this figure, I can see that towards our development, the students are going to school in an auto rickshaw like this way. So we are developing, but now the means and methods, how far it is giving us or it is giving us, facilitates us, that we need to see and we need to do something in it. So I would like to discuss ergonomics and design issues in respect of humanizing design and Indian value. As I will be discussing mostly the issues in our relation. Now the issues are sustainability that relates to long lasting with positive effects. That is a sustainable issue. And also towards whatever we are using now, that is towards repaying in advance resource loan that we are taking from future and we need to return to future in step by step. And the third thing issue is that the humane approach that gives confidence and comfort means whatever we are doing, it should give us a trust feeling that yes, whatever we are doing, it has some meaning and it does not harm us. It will be in real sense sustainable if the whole development is humane. Now I would like to share some concerns that ergonomics versus technology to assist newer challenges. Now we know that we have limited facilities within our body and mind, but technology has grown in such a level that whether we are capable to utilize those technological benefits at ease or not. Then if I cannot use all the things, then how can we say that all this develops is adding to my understanding of sustainability? The issues here it comes, issues of universality and value added design. Now value added design is that the value is it for my value, my community value, or it the global value that many a times it does not match with my value system. Then here a question comes to study the universality. Now just one thing I can say here, one small story about that sustainability. Normally when we see sustainable matter, we see that it should be long lasting, it should give me the positive effect like that. Now the story goes like this. So there once a clay potter, he used to sell the pots, clay pots, and it breaks quite often. So customers complained to him. He had gone to God, pray that God please give me some boon so that my pots becomes immortal, it will not break. God says that whatever you get, it gives you benefit. Whatever you ask, whether your asking is sustainable, then he said that, sir, I need this. Then God gave him that. Then now, whatever he makes, all the pots never break. then nobody buys again, because whoever bought that things, it remains there for long. Then he asked them, the customers said that whatever pot you gave it is still working. Then he had gone back to God and said that please return this, my understanding of sustainability of my business. Then God take back it again, and then he started making clay pots. People buy, it breaks, and he makes newer ones. So the sustainability is also context specific and relative in context and time. So now here we can say that universality. So we can say that if we can make everything universal, thinking and etc., then it will be better. So now here now the designers quite often give an example of an earthen pot that's shown in the center of this slide, an universal product. But the now thing is that can we make a product universal? The universal product or universal artifact, so whatever it is, it evolved from in time. So now it is a product that evolved in time. Nobody has designed it. But in left-hand side, we can see that in the temple architecture, in the bottom part of the pillar, the image of pots are there. And also in the right-hand side, you can see that for different requirement-wise, different shape and size of it is taken place on the basis of the universal shape, form, size of the pot. So we can say that the universality is a concept, but its application, sustainable application, we need to think, and that also should have a time and context specific and relative also. Now, this presentation examines ergonomics to support productive living, health and well-being, and creating context-specific, user-friendly environment. Now, as Dr. A.K. Ganguly has clearly mentioned, I am also taking clue from that when industrial evolution was there, then everything started looking for big production and so big machines and etc. So people started using operating those machines. So there are a lot of issues of human resources. So the industrial development etc. and the ergonomics was intact. Next, it came that knowledge domain, that information processing and information passing out to everybody. So that information era is also that we are about to cross. Now the time has come that social interaction and quality life. So now the ergonomics has come, ergonomics or human factors role has come to means to look into social interaction and quality life. So sustainability is relative and context specific role of design thinking. So now the social interaction, the system and then quality life to do that, there are a lot of products and systems are required and are coming up. Now we may look into study all these things through ergonomics and human factors points of view. Now we know that ergonomics from man-machine environment where the man was considered as workers, now it has come almost to the users commodities environment context system where the specific compatibility where man is now users and machines are dependent to commodities and task and system. So now concerns ergonomics application concerns both what productivity and during leisure time. So what's happened here? All the approach or development with a specific approach, and then if this target specific group satisfied, then taking clue from that we can go to global with some other requirement. Now, If I am productive with comfort at home and at workplace, ergonomics is in effect. So universality and newness has to be considered. Now the thing comes that people will say that in engineering design and industrial design kind of thing. So the engineering design produces means and methods for function delivery and reliability for the purpose it is being conceived, and accordingly various components and links among them are developed. An ergonomics consideration adds use comfort to design, and thus the industrial design takes a holistic approach with its usability and humane considerations. Now, as again I am talking that Dr. A.K. Ganguly has mentioned that a business. Now here from this slide we can say that this chair and this wash basin, in this chair it is mentioned that ergonomic means it is a good one. So we may know or may not know the what is ergonomics, but if it comes, it adds this point in an advertisement, I will feel that yes, it is good one. Now here also it is said that in the right hand side in the same page it is mentioned X ergonomics, like extra ergonomics. But in if we use the ergonomic principles while considering a design idea, then it would be a good design. So there is nothing called extra ergonomics, more ergonomical design like that. So if we consider ergonomics in a design in a proper way, then it will be sustainable design. So design is a process and staged outcome of conversion of ideas into reality we experience through product and system. Now, functionality and reliability, when we talk, are the aspects of usable in tune to human compatibility features, where pleasure is the aesthetic perception, attractiveness, feel good to possess, and joy in use. When both are applied in a design, it creates a trust to a product or a work system. So now if I can feel trust in a product, obviously its use will be for longer term and I'll accept it. Like in the trust, I will discuss here in 2 points. One is from the physical application wise and another from the more on cognitive area kind of thing. Like one thing here that all these mixicum grinders are there, but always nobody mentions while it is on, you have to put a hand on it, on the lid. But everybody does this thing. Now, so to remove this fear of flying off the lid, it is moving on. So we have to make some clips from this jar to lid and from the base to the lid. So now when we inquired from the target users groups, and it is found that if when we put this clip from this jar to the lid, it is a safety thing, but still the whole moving object, it is not fixed with the base body, so the trust of feeling, fear feeling is not there that much. But when in the right side, the clip from the body, if it is of the whole moving body, then it gives more trust. So the how to create the trust feeling, this clip may give some strength, may not give that strength, but psychologically it appears that yes, it gives sustainable, it gives a trust value of safety kind of thing. Because so trust is being functionality, usability, and pleasure. So like this feeling is of satisfaction and etc. It is a feel good philosophy we need to consider. Something like that, again, the trustworthy creativity, like there are, if we mention that image and context specific message, if we present somewhere, like suppose the feeling is that we have to make a poster on women's breast milk is the best for child growth. Now for this campaign, so three types of posters were got selected. One was first type of poster is that one mother is sitting on a cross-legged position, and on her body lap a very sick boy is there, and next to this there is a tinned milk food, and on that red cross mark is there, and it that the slogan is that mother's breast milk is the best for growth. Now here the question, this is one. Number two is that a young mother on her lap, a very well bodied child, looks child, and there is half of breast, the child is sucking the milk. So, and there is no tin food picture is there, but that mother's breast milk is good for child growth. The third one is that mother and child, there is no tin food picture, no breast showing, only mother and child, they are hugging to each other, and the slogan is mentioned that mother's breast milk is the best for child's growth. Then which one would get the maximum attention by the target group? Now here, when the study was found that the first one, the mother and child the teen food, it gives a message, but the thing that no one likes to get attended, a bad figure, that nobody likes to equate with his own beloved things to a bad image. So it does not get that attention. So the second one is that mothers half breast, half open breast child. So now it is what is a mixed target group, because those who are already parent, they don't have that attention, they in the breast matter, etc. So they don't, but those who are unmarried. So the target group, it is missing. And the third group, the mother and child, they're just hugging each other, and then it is an universal. So now the thing is that sustainability in an awareness campaign, what would be the requirement that we need to consider like this? Now in today's this pandemic and etc., it is like that so many situations are there, so that we need to consider. Now the first, when this pandemic started, we thought that right hand side, the left hand side the figure, we will have a workstation like this at my home, but within few days you can see the right hand side, my workstation has become like this way. So the thing is that the total my thinking of certain context, and then actually what it comes, it we need to consider this matter. So now we can say that in the schools, it was few days back also it was said that no cell phone to school, but now the whole school has become inside the cell phone. So the total perception and then what type of feeling we need to consider that is required. Now the thing is that design ideation. Now newness and human ethics and values. Now the thing is, okay, it appears to be meets my needs first, then development to meet our needs, then look for national, and then go global. That is retaining the identity of the my requirement and my available resources and the things. Now the thing is that the flexibility and newness. So now, if we see that at the very in our earlier civilization time, so all the houses and all the family members used to get together near a fire, and then we used to stay surrounding to that fire, and mostly the toilet area was the outside periphery of that thing. Means what happened? Kitchen was inside our dwelling area, and toilet was outside. But now with this present current flat culture and etc., flat accommodation culture, that toilet has come to each and every room. a part of that thing, and kitchen has gone to periphery. So now the totally person that our total this perception of our staying and life is being changed. So now what can be done? So now people have started adding some value on it, that confined space and etc. nowadays is there. No. So confined space and tendency for minimizing, like terrace garden and rainwater harvesting etc. started. So slowly we are adding it, thinking that we are to bring that thing. So I'm not sure that whether the small addition of greeneries will give our sustainability, or we need large public forests and etc. So those are the things which what I'm developing here, but whatever we are thinking, how it is actually producing or what it gives, that we need to think, like ethics and ideation and elements of identity. Now sustainability and etc. also we need to think in some line that what we are presenting with ethics. Now, the pleasure and trust. Suppose now we want to from India. It cannot be. So then, whatever we think is direct means crude application. Instead, that crude application many a times it requires abstract application with aesthetics value. So that when sustainability comes, it comes like that way. Just one example: the spreading to the mass, like can eco-tourist lodges with homestay or similar smaller approach where people can dine with a low height chair table like Indian style earlier, can sit with a cross-legged posture also on that chair table. So means that something. So to have Indian culture for to open up to for everybody, we can have like that way. So exploring the unexplored, the local interactive tourism and spreading to the masses can add to this. Now the thing is that at this very moment we can say that this Namaste figure is now spread all over the context and etc. all we know. So now the thing is that I would like to share some issues of the perception and relevant design applications. Now, very quickly, I would like to mention that the so for any kind of design need, they identify the need, the immediate. After seeing this girl, we can say immediately that she needs a shoe or chappal kind of thing, footwear. So this is the immediate first need, like that. Perceived need, the need is that if this girl becomes old, then that old lady will not have the coordination within the among the body parts. So Watson, while walking, this sandal may slip off. So there would be a requirement is a back strap that can fix that slipper to the foot. So this stuff is the perceived need kind of thing. Means based on the present requirement, what would be the next future requirement? You see, and created need is that we can say that now with this created need, it goes to the most sustainable thought kind of thing, like that. The story goes like this way: that one shoe company sent their representative to India to check that possibility of opening a shoe shop. He came back and said that it's not possible because nobody wears shoe there. So then sometime then another representative was sent there and came back and said that yes, a huge possibility is there. You can open a shoe factory there, not even to shop, but you can open because nobody wears shoes there. So if you can give this awareness, then it will and a private need of is also a way to do thing. Now the thing is that uniqueness and distinguishable. So who are the parts? Who are the users? So now this is the last one. Now, 2011, few design institutes have come together and they started looking into the Universal Design India principles. So, what would be the development in the design that are suitable to India? And they have found that a total 5 points: equitable, usable, cultural, economic, and the 5 points they have found. So if we consider this in our design, it will be good and it will be very sustainable. Now, issues of sustainability is that, like we can see that while breaking an egg, like when force is applied from outside, it kills a life. But when the force comes within, means our need we feel, then it explodes and it creates a life. So here need for user survey. So explore creative minds. Design is a creative field that demands balance in technicality and aesthetics. So this is our design department's where we discuss whatever I discussed right now from the point of view of context-specific application and creative ideation. So with this, I invite you to look into sustainable development goal towards quality life through varied design ideations. So wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was that the sustainable design, which are so much related to our home appliances, even the study style, everything. It was so very informative talk. Thank to you for all. Now the next keynote address. I introduce you the next keynote speaker, Dr. Andrew Thatcher, by reading his profile. Dr. Andrew Thatcher is a professor and chair of industrial organizational psychology at University of Witwatersrand, where he has been working since 1995. He obtained his PhD in psychology from Greece in 2003. He is registered with the Health Professions Council of South Africa as an industrial psychologist. He is currently president of the Ergonomics Society of South Africa and chair of the International Ergonomics Association's Women's Factor for Sustainable Technical Committee. Dr. Andrew's teaching areas are in cognitive ergonomics, engineering psychology, organizational effectiveness, and research analysis. His research interests are on well-being, productivity in green buildings, the psychological factors in the adoption of sustainable technologies, and the theoretical development of human factors and sustainability. Now, I request Dr. Andrew Thatcher to present his discourse to enlighten us on building a better world through human factors and ergonomics. Over to sir.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much to Professor Chakrabarti also for giving an introduction to this area. Can everyone see my screen? I just want to check that. Okay, there's a nod and a thumb. I like that. All right, so I'm just going to put it onto film at the moment. It means I won't be able to see any questions coming up on the side. So if there are any burning questions, I'll have to check them at the end. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to give this talk. First one I've given in as a keynote in India, although I have had the pleasure of presenting in India before. I'm going to dive straight in. These are the sort of areas which I'm hoping to cover in the next 30 minutes or so. So I'll start off and talk a little bit about what is the world that we have, the state of our planet, managed to create. I'll then go on and talk a little bit about what human factors and ergonomics has already done I will talk a little bit about what sort of future opportunities there are in this area, and some of these are already being started, and then I just sort of finish up with a bit of a way forward, and some of the steam has already been stolen from me, so I'll go quite quickly through that material. So the first thing we look at is what is the sector? What does it look like? The first point is that this is our world. We have one of them, and as far as we know, it's the only habitable planet in the entire known universe. If we would try to get somewhere else, if we manage to stuff the planet up and we try to get to our nearest star using our current technology, it would take us 139,000 years to get there. And we know that our closest star doesn't have any planets. Now, if we were trying to live like the average American, we would end up having to need 5 Earths. If you look down the bottom over here, you'll see India is doing a little bit better, but I think most of us would agree that probably most of the world doesn't want to live like the average Indian. We probably want to live a little bit like somewhere on the lines of the average German or the average Australian. But that would mean that we'd need far more Earths than we have. The global average is actually sitting at about 2 Earths that we need to live. Beautiful forests that we're able to spend some time in, water that we see as clean, mountains that we see as pristine, and these are pictures obviously taken in India as the Western Ghats. And these lovely pristine environments that we interact with, the white rhino that we see here from my own country, which is now very nearly extinct. And we see ourselves living these lovely lives with this technology around us, with our family around us in this lovely space. But in reality, we live in a world that's quite different from that. We live in a world where we engage in extractive technologies, where we remove materials with gay abandon from the earth, creating massive amounts of destruction in our wake. We create enormous amounts of waste, which we just pile up outside our cities. It ends up getting washed into our oceans. And this is what our oceans are going to do. Now, and we start killing very things that are actually supposed to sustain fish on the side of a lake. I think this is in Madras in India. And pollute the air around us. We don't actually live in these lovely, pristine environments. We live for a large part of our lives in traffic. And the forests that we do have, we're burning down at a tremendous rate. And instead of living in that beautiful environment, we actually, majority of the people in the world actually live in these slums. And while they might be happy as we see them in this picture, that's generally not what the situation is. Now, this is probably the most famous graph in the last 20 years in the climate science. What this shows is the last 800,000 years. I chose 800,000 years because this takes us back to before Homo sapiens were really a proper species on our planet. So we're going roughly back to where before Homo sapiens appeared around about somewhere between 200 and 300,000 years ago. So this goes back 3 times longer than Homo sapiens have been alive on our planet. And you'll notice, and the scientists and the skeptics have talked about CO2 levels going up and down, and that is true. In the last 800,000 years, it has gone up, but it's never gone up above 300,000. We are now sitting somewhere well above 300 parts per million. And that creates an entirely new world for us to kind of live in. Here's the latest figures, which I extracted yesterday from the Manao Lao Observatory These are the average, 411.29 is the average parts per million in the world. If you look at where it was in October 2019, it was 408. So that's roughly just under 3 parts per million it's going up per year. And this is accelerating. The important figure to remember here is 450 parts per million. All our models, regardless of where they're created in the world, show us that at 450 parts per million, things start getting really chaotic in our climate systems. So we've got to do whatever we can to try to reduce it below 450 parts per million. The problem with carbon dioxide is it stays in our atmosphere for roughly 20 to 30 years. So we're locked in, and we're probably locked in for over 450 parts per million. Here's another example about what's kind of been happening. I don't have the very latest figures on here. These are taken from the middle of the year. And what you'll see is that since we started taking accurate figures of temperature around about 1850, the temperature has slowly been rising. It goes up and down from year to year, as we'd expect variations from one year to the next. And of course, there's global phenomena like the El Nino and La Nina, which affect that. The problem we have at the moment, and particularly in 2020, is you notice that it's been going up in 2020, and 2020 is a La Nina year, which means that it should actually be a cooling year. So in 2020, we should actually be seeing a cooling effect when in fact we're seeing a heating effect. So the temperature's going up despite a global cooling effect in the Pacific Ocean. And the thing that we're really worried about is that if we go back now, these are figures going from ice cores that would take us back about 300,000 years ago. You'll see the temperature very closely follows the carbon dioxide levels. Sometimes the carbon dioxide levels are higher than the temperature, and sometimes they're lower than the temperature, but usually the general trend is that they're following the same. What we'll see, though, is that the temperature at the moment is well below what the carbon dioxide levels are looking at. And so what this could mean is in the next 20 years or so, we could see massive changes in the temperature. Now, I know India, for example, has seen record temperatures and people dying because of heat waves. This is only likely to get worse in the years ahead. And it's not just carbon dioxide and temperature that we need to worry about, but also water stress. You'll see that South Africa, where I come from, down here in the bottom of Africa, and India over here in the subcontinents, you'll see we're likely to get a high level of water stress by 2040. In fact, India already has severe water stress, and it's likely to get worse as we go through for the next 20 years or so. The problem mainly, and this graph, what is important about this graph is actually it's called the wine glass or the cocktail glass, or sometimes the champagne glass distribution. You will see that the richest 20% of the world actually consume about more than 80% of the world's resources. So if we take where, for example, India is sitting somewhere between this green and this blue down the bottom, but we're actually consuming a tiny proportion of the world's resources compared to Europe and North America. And particularly China is rising up into this area at the moment. The problem with this, and this is some graphs taken from something which is called the World Happiness Index, is that money doesn't buy us happiness. I'll just explain this graph. The blue line that sits over here basically shows us that over the last 60 years or so, global happiness has pretty much stayed the same, but per capita income has actually increased. So what we've done is we're earning more money per capita average across the whole world, but we're staying just the same. So we're consuming more, but it's not making us any happier, and we need to decouple these types of problems. How we've conceptualized this, myself and some colleagues, we've conceptualized these as 3 different types of asymmetries: resource asymmetries, waste asymmetries, and legal or legislative asymmetries. So there's inequality in the world, and we know this. And these inequalities might be visualized in terms of inequalities in terms of access to resources, asymmetries in terms of who is accumulating the waste and who is generating the waste, and asymmetries in terms of the types of protections of workers. And what this means is that rich countries are able to basically deal with this in different ways to poorer countries, and it leads to different types of consequences. We've pulled them out as human consequences and environmental consequences, and these are related to one another. Access to resources means that we use resources in different ways. It leads to land degradation, deforestation, as poorer people try to make up this they don't have, but it also leads to things like poverty, hunger, and disease. And we see a similar thing in relation both to legislative asymmetries and in terms of race asymmetries. The important message, and I leave this right up over here before I start going into what it is that we've done, is that human beings are part of this problem. We are the people that have caused this problem. We are part of the world that has caused this problem. And therefore, we also have to be part of the solution. And this is where human factors and ergonomics comes in. Humans are part of the problem. Human factors and ergonomics is part of the solution. Otherwise, we're going to see increasingly instances of global warming and all of these types of negative outcomes that I listed over there on the previous slide. What has ergonomics done? So first of all, I give the IEA definition. I don't think we really need to go into much detail on that, other than to say that what we're essentially doing is emphasizing human well-being and system performance. And that's really what we're looking at when we're doing these types of design interventions, which Prof. Chakrabarty was talking about prior. And we have two different types of interventions that we could look at when looking at solving these problems. The first one is design related to mitigation. In mitigation, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the rate at which we consume and reduce the rate at which we damage our environment. And there are two different types of mitigation processes. The one is in terms of design of products and systems, and the other one is in terms of the designing of human behavior. And those aren't separate from one another. Those actually are related to one another. The second type of aspect that we can look at is in terms of adaptation. This means that how do we design for a world that is changing? How do we create resilient and adaptable systems that will be able to cope with the changes which are likely to be coming in? And here we have three different ways in which we could do this. We can design so that we shape our behavior to deal with particular types of adaptation. We can design feedback mechanisms so that we understand what's going on and be able to predict, and we can design decision support systems. So taking all of that into account, essentially what we look at when we look at human factors and ergonomics is that we have different levels at which we can intervene in the system. And we've conceptualized this as a nested hierarchy of systems, what we call a sustainable system of systems. On the left-hand side are more traditional types of human factors and ergonomics approaches. And on the right-hand side are the new emerging types of approaches which look at dealing with sustainability. And in the center over here, I'll talk about individual types of approaches going all the way up to the macro types of changes that we could look at. So at the individual level, there are various different things which we've tried to look at, ranging from the design of green jobs, and I'll talk a little bit about organic farming and waste recycling, eco-driving, biophilic design, computer consumption, reducing energy use, the design of clothing, design of various different types of appliances to be more less resource intensive, and the design of various different types of household devices. Prof. Chakrabarty talked about some of those in his talk beforehand. So the first thing is we've used various different ways of improving our recycling systems, both in terms of manual materials handling, in terms of transport of waste, and of source separation of waste. And there have been various different people who have been involved in these types of exercises. We've also been involved in different types of eco-agriculture. So I looked at the way in which, for example, we raise the using materials, we can actually use manual labor. And this over here, you can see if there is the beds, people have to kneel down to pick up materials. And so what we can do is design this so that we actually raise the beds so it makes it easier to involve and less damage in themselves. We've also looked at various types of green building exercises, these small buildings, which I've been, sorry, on a quickly, green buildings that I've involved in. One down the top right over here is in Cape Town. These are being able to design environmental quality appropriately ways and well-being, health, and effectiveness can be while also reducing. My colleague in Germany have been looking at designing these over here are mostly BMWs, looking of electric vehicles to look at how we can look at saving and generating electricity and therefore getting a longer life per tank of charge. Various different people looking at different types of intervention systems, design different types of appliances. At the group level, essentially what we start looking at is the much larger systems. So we now look at how teams might operate with these types of environments. So for example, we look at design household devices. How do we design home heating systems so that the whole family can operate with that? Okay, home heating systems are probably less important within the Indian environment, but we might maybe here look at home cooling systems, particularly in the south of India. At the organizational level, Patrick Watterson, for example, has done some interesting work on retail energy efficiency, helping organizations save electricity. He was looking at one of the retail chains in the UK. I've also looked at some various different ways of designing the interiors of green buildings so that they can be used more efficient ways through things like activity-based offices, looking at water recycling and paper recycling initiatives. Here's Patrick's work in terms of, he worked with and they looked at various different types of organizational intervention to reduce the amounts of energy which they used across their Action has been lean manufacturing. As I said, I've been looking at activity-based working in organizations. How do we get rid of, for example, paper in offices? People are quite resistant to that. How do we design cooling systems that people will actually all be happy about? And how do we reduce the amount of wasted space? There's also been quite a lot of work, and this mostly been theoretical at the inter-organizational level. Klaus Fischer has been looking at supply chain ergonomics across the supply chains to ensure that we have appropriate human factors and across various organizations. It's been done on desalination and nuclear power plants, distribution systems, and some of these. And in Canada have been looking at designing appropriate use of distribution of electricity and systems so that they can incorporate renewable energy into grids. And the problem with renewable energy, of course, is that it's only generated usually either when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing, whereas like coal or nuclear, you generate demand, and so you need to see how you integrate it into these very complex networks. So I've talked about what has been done and the work which is being done, and now I'll talk about some of the things that we can look about doing in the future. And this is really around various different types of new green jobs which are coming up, designing many, many different types of low resource systems and looking at virtual interactions. So let's talk quickly about some issues of new types of green jobs. This is solar, and the problem with solar, of course, either needs to be installed at high, and usually they are hot or high. This situations here operating at height. And we need to make sure that the human operators, the human people who are maintaining these systems are protected. This, of course, this one on the right-hand side creates some really interesting challenges For example, how do you install and then maintain these time turbines? In this particular case, they're also at height and windy, which makes them very dangerous. Now, this is what's happening. We need to look at public transport systems. How do we create our system spread out over huge amounts of distances? We are increasingly going to look at human factors in dealing with disaster management systems and rapid response emergency systems as well. Climate become more chaotic. We need to look at designing systems both at the city and national level. And we need to understand a lot more about the distributed organization. And some examples of good design over here on the left-hand side and bad design over here on the right-hand side, where someone thought it was a really good idea to put in bicycle lanes, but of course it clashes with all the infrastructure that is already there. Or this one over here in the middle, where essentially what you do is you put the bicycle lane exactly in the place where someone's going to open a door. And so now you've got to watch out for bicycles, you've got to watch out for car doors being open. So these are bad designs, and we need to design this in more efficient ways. What does it mean in terms of the way forward? Well, first of all, some issues that we have here. It's really difficult to predict the future. The timing and the details will be really difficult. We can't say exactly when things will get chaotic. We need to increase living standards across the world, but we need to do that in a way that doesn't put additional strain on limited resources. We need to deal with the increase in automation and robotics and make some decisions about what humans will be left to do. As we become more networked, so we need to deal with cyber terrorism. And the thing about healthcare systems, as for example, COVID-19 has shown us, is it's really can happen very quickly, where we go from a stable environment to a chaotic healthcare system environment. In the case of around the world, in basically from February to March, to a chaotic world. And we need to be able to deal with increasing. What does this mean in terms of a way forward? Well, it means that as a discipline, we need to move from trying to be specialized to become more multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and even transdisciplinary. We need to engage a lot more with our other science partners. At the moment, we as human factors and ergonomists, we can just about accept that the HFE is a systems discipline, but we need to go even further now and start embracing the complexities of the environments which we're likely to go into. We need to move, and Prof. Chakrabarty also talked about this, we need to move from thinking of ourselves as a value-free science to a value-laden science. We need to embrace the values. And of course, this means asking difficult questions about whose values, what do we value, what is important for us to value. I think we're already too late for mitigation measures. I think it's useful to do them but we need to start thinking a lot more about adaptation. And we need to think about how we're going to adapt to the chaotic worlds which we're creating. And we need to move from trying to look at general solutions which can be applied everywhere in the world to looking at finding local solutions which work for local contexts. Otherwise, we're going to get bogged down by the complexity of the situation. If you want to read more about this, there are 2 recent books, both edited by myself and other colleagues. Ergonomics and Human Factors for a Sustainable Future, which I edited with Paul Yao from Malaysia, and Human Factors for Sustainability, Theoretical Perspectives and Global Applications, which I edited with Klaus Zink and Klaus Fischer. You can also read 2 fairly recent pieces of work, State of Science for Ergonomics and Global Issues with Patrick Waddison, Andrew Todd. And then if you are really interested in the values, and I would urge you to kind of embrace this type of issue, because I think India has a lot to teach the world about issues around that. Then you can read that paper with Caroline Morales and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And then finally, while I presented this as my work, it's the work of many people around the world, and these are people that I'm working with. In India, also starting to and community and so with that, I managed to catch up about a minute, I think. I will share and start sharing my screen over there. Thank you very much for your patience in listening to me.
Thank you very much, sir. Every individual's responsibility towards making the environmental to the world and for human well-being for our future generations. Now, I invite Dr. Hwwe to address using 4.0 technology, humanizing work and the work environment. Is member of Directive Commission on Engineering. Same time, same issued since 2008 to the system, and 2008 assistant of Department of Production and Systems. Main research interests are in the area of production systems design and operations, production planning and control, production management, engineering, education, project education, project learning, and lean education. She is author and co-author of more than 130 publications in conference publications or communications. 2 books, 2 co-edited books, 4 editions of conference proceedings, 21 book chapters, and more than 7 journals. She participated in 25 abroad. She is also a member of the following societies and networks: Society of Collaborative Works, Portuguese Society of Portuguese Engineering, Engineer, Lean Education Academic Network, European Professor of Industrial Engineering and Management, and IEM Care Foundation. Now I request Dr. to present her keynote address on using lean thinking and industry 4.0 technologies to humanizing work and work environment. Now over to Dr. Annabella.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for for the invitation. It is an honor to be part of this so rich panel, and I'm very acknowledge the invitation. Can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Andrew Thatcher may need to. Yeah, fine.
I'm not hearing it well. Are you hearing me?
Yes. Yes, it is okay.
You're audible. You're audible to us.
Okay.
The screen is
So,
shared. Yeah.
okay. Can I start? Okay, thank you. Now it's much better. Okay, my presentation is about lean thinking and the industry 4.0 technologies to humanize work and work environments. So the topics for this presentation that I will follow is to try to give you a short background about the lean thinking, the current situation of the companies, the goal that I proposed for this presentation, the analysis I have been doing, and the countermeasures I propose, and the plan and the follow-up. So as a background, and I always, I know that you know that what are the main principles of lean thinking, but I like to tell you the story and relate this with the concern of the Toyota, with the humans and with the people. And if we go to the beginning of the last century, we had the mass production system, where the people that were working in the companies, the important one, it was their hands. And after this, we have a lot of changes, and we had the Toyota production system that in 1977 they had the first English paper about how they were working in a different way, and they called this system the Kanban system materialization of just in time. And the part that I would like to highlight is the respect for human system. That is very different of the mass production techniques they saw in the Ford companies. After that, in the decade of the 80s, we had at least 3 books about the Toyota production system. And I would like to highlight this citation from Monday, that he said, in short, robots, like any other kind of technology, must remain the tool of man and not the other way around. So this is very important for this presentation. Also, in the same decade, we had the triumph of lean production system. For the first time, the North American were recognizing the Japanese system, the Toyota Japanese system, as a different production system where the workers, the minds, the hands, and the teamwork were important to achieve the success that Toyota had accomplished. And you of course, you know the books that became bestsellers, at least The Machine That Changed the World, where the lean production system became popular. This name to that the North American call to the Toyota production system, where I retain this famous key idea: doing more with less, where less means less time to develop the products, less space, less stocks, and so on, and less human to it. And after that, we have also some authors that reinforce the importance of the Toyota production system as a production system that promotes a work environment that is safe physically, emotionally, and professionally for every employee. And then we have also the Licker, the famous book of Licker, that is the Toyota Way, the 14 principles of the oldest, largest manufacturing of cars, and where we can also see people in the system, and because the production system, the main important is the human factor in the production system. And even now, Licker, the same author of this book, what I want to highlight here is much more. We are doing good things, but improve. And I saw some images that are worse than this of this kind of recognize terms of the way by shore. Previous is also a waste that we have a lot in our companies, that is the untapped human potential. We have people that has so many to give. Sisyphus was condemned by the gods to push a rock up the mountain, start over. This is not what we want for our people, our workers, and we have this a lot. So this is very, very, very terrible for anyone that goes to show how lean thinking, how having a lean thinking in our companies can trigger, can pull can shake hands with the technology helping the human. That it is what we want. And more than the 50 main objectives that companies many times forgotten, that is the best safety for our doing this will be contributing for the sustainable development goals, at least the good health, the good jobs and economic growth, and the responsible production and consumption. And I edited a book about lean, how lean engineer conduct us to global development. And in this book, you can find some case studies how we can have this, including a chapter about how ergonomics and industry 4.0 could a systematic literature about the both synergetic things. Also concepts, sorry. The analysis I made, it was based in the Hwwe definition of healthy workplace. And the healthy, because I'm not expert in human factors, I'm just a designer of production system. And of course, the human factors for me is the most important production factor that we have to consider, and all the conditions that can provide the best conditions, we must provide the best conditions to them. For them not only have good work conditions, but also satisfying their will, because work is part of our lives. So a healthy workplace is one in which workers and managers collaborate to use a continual improvement process to protect and promote the health, safety, and well-being of workers, and the sustainability of the workplace by considering the following based on identified needs: the health and safety in the physical work environment, of course, the health and safety and their well-being and well-being concerns in the psychosocial their families and other members of the community. And I just agree with Evelyn Curtin that said that it's unethical and short-sighted business practice to compromise the health of workers for the wealth of enterprises. And I completely agree with this citation. And according to Burton in 2010, so 1 decade ago, you considered 8 emerging occupational health and safety hazards. And I put here because I think we continue with this: unstable labor market, precarious contracts, globalization, new forms of employment, job insecurity, the aging workforce, long working hours, intensification of work, high workload, work pressure, and lean production and outsourcing. So I put here because she was telling us lean was also considered an hazard. And I added, of course, I add this one because we are now with this also, that I think we can put here not an emergency, but as a current hazard. And why lean was considered, because I saw Professor Andrew also talk about lean in a better way, in a different way. And in 2015, I co-edited a paper with my colleagues about why the authors were saying that, why lean is considered, it was considered an occupational health and safety hazard. Of course, this is changing, but we continue having this because sometimes companies use lean as a cost-cutting exercise. And so they are using lean in the bad, they are implemented wrongly, the lean production, the lean system. So this is why I start with the story of the Toyota production system. And I also want to highlight that, of course, we need to provide the psychological needs. That is the base of the pillar of Maslow hierarchy of needs. But after that, we need to provide other conditions for the people to achieve to the highest level of the pyramid, because it is not just to this is having going to the work and working. It is not just physical. We don't need just physical mechanism in the enter of the companies, and we are always seeing a smile in the faces of people. Of course, it's a forced smile, but we don't have this, of course. Just a curiosity, in Portugal, we need to do a lot more that we are doing. I put this statistic here about the occupational safety and health indicators, and Portugal is here, is in the top, but is in the top, should be in the lowest, but is in this position that is not very good. And we have a lot of work accidents, and we need to improve this, of course. And my contributions for that is to try to show that lean thinking principles pulls Industry 4.0 technologies to reduce wastes and promote respect for people and continuous improvement in the work environment. And the key players are always the same: people, process, and management. And here the countermeasures, we have the values, the conditions through the collaborative robots, as Professor Kathleen already talked about also, through the intelligence, artificial intelligence, through the additive manufacturing and so on. Data, so we can have this the first value, pooling these technologies to provide a better work environment and for the people and for the planet, because we will have a better alignment of consumption and production, and this will eliminate overproduction, the waste that I talked before. And this less products in the company means less confusion, less effort, exhaustion, less stress, frustration, less accidents, less movements, because we'll have less movements, less accidents, less errors, less repetitive, monotonous, and boring tasks, reduce risk in dangerous environment, better communication, increase learning opportunities, and we'll have internal and external clients more satisfied. Also, the second one is the value stream. So map the value stream, and we have a lot of technologies that could help us in mapping the value stream. Interactive work environments. We have the tools to another. We have the use, and we will have a constant update of process mapping, the involvement of all people, even when we are now all in teleworking, sharing data with the stakeholders, transparency of data collected, quick detection of errors, less errors. The knowledge do not need to stay in our memories, in our workers' memories, so we have technologies for that. So we have a lot of technology that will help us to have this, to map better our value streams. We have virtual walks to the Gemba, educational training for employees, and so on and so on. And the third principle is the flow, and it's like a river. When we have a river, we have the flow, and we have the rocks, and the rocks are impeding the river of having flow, and we have some loops, and we have some currents, and we need to remove the rocks that are our bottlenecks to have a better workplace. So we'll could design better layouts to reduce the distance that our workers travel, the transports, the motion, we can design better border lines and routes to reduce the wrong posters, handling, having easy pickup of materials. And we have a lot of technologies. We have the AGVs, we have the exoskeleton, we have the cobots again, we have the RFID, we have the 3D simulation, the physical system, and so on and so on. And so we have the effort reduction, the fatigue, and the musculoskeletal disorders. So we have the reduction of overburden, the symptom of waste. And the fourth principle is pull production, and pull production is the main thing to better align our production with the client needs, with the demands. So we have also here a lot of tools that can help us to have pull production, the Kanbans and so on. And also have some implications for work environment here. We could eliminate overproduction and stocks. We have less accidents. We have and safety with disease prevention, health promotion, and tackling social determinants of health, and reaching out to workers, families, and communities. And finally, my last slide is about the follow-up, and is to promote this kind of synergies, introduce the cobots and automation technologies to free people from repetitive, boring, and dangerous tasks, provide conditions for people to become creative thinkers, and embrace Lean to create a mindset that prepare companies and people for crisis and pandemic situations like this one that we are crossing, and helping them to accomplish disciplined and healthy behaviors. And here we have Taishi Ono, that was the mentor of Toyota production system, that the Toyota style is not to create results by working hard. It is a system that says there is no limit to people's creativity. People don't go to Toyota to work, they go there to think. I think this is very, very interesting quotation. And this is the poster from my PhD student that is about what I have been talking about, at least one part. And some references. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, please. I'm here to. Sorry.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone having any kind of question?
If anyone interested to put questions to ma'am, welcome. Okay, thank you very much. I express my gratitude to all the keynote speakers for presenting their informative topics, which are really helpful with a lot of information and a lot of guidance. I thank all of you for making this session a grand success. Now I declare this virtual session 2 becomes end with some information. 1 to 2 is the lunch break. At 2 p.m., track 1 and track 2 of the session 3 will be conducted parallelly. I request all the respective track authors to join your sessions on time and make all the sessions of the conference a grand success. Track 1 authors use the same link. Track 2, the link is already shared with you. You can use it. Thank you very much. Point of this session.
Thank you all the keynote. Thank you all the keynote speakers. Giving us your valuable time and explaining your work with us. Thank you all of you. Thank you, Thatcher, Professor Chakravarti, and hope to see you sometime back in India once the situation becomes normal. We actually wanted to see you here. Thank you so much and take care.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, and all the best for the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Dr. Thatcher, thank you so much. So others, we all join in parallel session at 2 o'clock. Please join at time.